Hi, it's Jason Wood for ThatShelf.com, and we're here to talk about Wes Anderson's film Asteroid City.
Big shelf.
So here we are at the Canada International Film Festival. I'm actually at this sort of weird mayor's luncheon thing. The jury was just there. I've never actually clambered up here, so it almost killed me to actually get this far up. But nonetheless, here's the view. Look, Mediterranean. Look, multi-billion-dollar houses and cars and all kinds of other nonsense that plays out. The jury was here. I got a chance to speak with Paul Dano, tell him how much I love him in The Fabelmans. Talk about last time I saw him in person, I guess, like directly face-to-face, was Swiss Army Man. That's another story. We're here to talk about Wes Anderson, another person I had a conversation with today. Now, Wes Anderson's latest, Asteroid City, is set in the 1950s. It is this sort of weird desert, COVID-y in a good way, in the sense that you get a whole bunch of people who are essentially quarantined in the middle of the desert film. It is a TV show about a play, a sort of TV show about the writing of a play which is then performed, and that play itself is Asteroid City. So it shifts from black and white to color. Once again, the ensemble of Wes Anderson continues to expand. You have people like Tom Hanks being added, Bryan Cranston, Scarlett Johansson, who previously was only the voice of a dog in I Love Dogs, now is on screen, and she's unbelievable. And then you have stalwarts, people like Jason Schwartzman, who's continues his collaboration with Wes Anderson, dating back obviously to Rushmore. And he plays a character who is a photographer who recently lost his wife and is there with his son, meets all these other parents who are going off into the desert, off to Asteroid City to because their kids are inventors, and there's sort of a convention of young geniuses. It's this weird, plot is even more inconsequential in this film than it is for many of his others. It's slight, shall we say, but it's also engaging. It's like this sort of weird sort of excuse to get all these characters together. Scarlett Johansson plays an actor, so she's an actor playing an actor who is, again, preparing a line, succumbing to that, and then there's a dynamic that plays out. Schwartzman himself, I love him in this movie because he's doing Stanley Kubrick. There's the particular cadence, the voice, even the laugh is straight down to Kubrick. I adored it. And Scarlett Johansson, look, she's been intoxicating in some films and less good in others. She is stunningly great in this film. You absolutely buy her character and all of its sort of vicissitudes as it shifts back and forth. It is a really, really remarkable turn for her. You have kooky animation, you have kooky things, you have music, you have colors, bright cyans, amazing pinks, vintage cars, all come together in this glorious sort of melange of all these different references and elements at play. The black and white photography is stunning. The color photography is this insane Kodachrome. And in the end, the film, on first viewing, I think is strong. I'm being reticent here. Not every film has to be better than the last. And I love French Dispatch so much. I know not everybody feels the same way with me. French Dispatch was accused for having too much narrative, comically, from a lot of people that I heard here in France. And in some ways, this one, by being narratively slighter, feels less consequential. But it's funny because there's a line where you talk about they have to sleep in order to wake up. You have to sort of let this film settle in. You have to sort of let it do its thing and sort of work its magic on you. I look forward so much to watching it for multiple times to catch all the little details, the visual things, the menus in the diner, all that sort of stuff. All of those elements, absolutely. But I also look forward to it sort of settling in. Even here, 24 hours later, there are moments that oh man, that was such a joy to behold. And it's easy, I think, to be over-analytical about this film. A minor Anderson is still a little bit of a majestic miracle. It's as simple as that. And if you're aboard for this shtick, and I definitely am, Christ, I have a cat named Zizou, but if you are able to actually just revel in the sort of strange ways that he looks at the world, he's not the only filmmaker that has a particular thing. You know what you're getting when you're getting things from certain filmmakers. For God's sakes, there's a Hong Sang-soo playing here. It's like you know exactly what you're going to get. You're either there on board or not. The Dogdan are celebrated here like kings, and they make the same goddamn movie every time. And so it either works for you or it doesn't. And I would much rather have something that's so clearly filled with joy, with such aesthetic excess, such maximalism done in such a beautifully curated way, that I will celebrate every time Asteroid City. It may not be the greatest film he's done. It might not even be the best film that he's going to be doing in the next little while. He's already working on his next project. But I think that this is a stunning accomplishment. I think that the absolute constellation of performance that he has, this ensemble feeling, this is, since Rushmore, his most unabashedly theatrical, full-on dealing with stagecraft. And in a funny way, this is the way that I love plays to be. If you can do something that is as literally prosceniums, stages, stagecraft, the mechanism, you see everything sort of playing out. He does that a lot. He does that with the Belafonte in Life Aquatic, that you sort of see the seams, you see the flats that sort of present blocking and all that stuff. But in Rushmore, we saw where Schwartzman's character is literally putting on plays that are much bigger and much more preposterous than anything that should be done at a high school. In a funny way, this feels like this is what Wes Anderson is doing with this movie. He's collecting his ensemble, his group of friends together that are all committed to telling this incredibly wacky story, multiple stories within stories, and actually giving a chance here for us to sort of go along for the ride and take a journey to Asteroid City. And along the way, why not just ride the train and have a lot of fun while doing that? For ThatShelf.com, I'm Jason Gorber. Thanks so much for watching. Please subscribe, follow us on social media, and we will see you in the next video. All the best. Take care.